In front of me is probably one of the biggest cars ever made in the 70s, and it's made by Cadillac. This particular Eldorado is from 1978, and for being that as old as it is aged very well. It's a very low mileage car, and I'm happy to be sharing it with you guys today. So without further ado, let's take a look at this big brown behemoth of a Cadillac. Now we're going to start off this review of the Eldorado under the hood. This is a 7-liter V8 that makes a whopping 180 horsepower. And because this car is super low mileage, it actually has some really neat original stuff that's still on there. Like the label on the air cleaner, "Keep your car all GM," is still there. Lots of the original labels are still there and not scratched off. Now, even though this is a super low mileage car, some of the gaps from the factory were a little questionable. Now, something that's interesting about the Eldorado is that it is front-wheel drive. There is a 3-speed automatic transaxle sandwiched between that huge V8 and the firewall. One thing to note about the outside of this car is, aside from the very brown exterior, it's huge. This car is over 18 feet long. But believe it or not, the Cadillac lineup for these years got even longer with the Fleetwood. Now the paint colors. Well, in reality, there's only one color. Brown on brown on brown. And then more brown, and then more brown. Another interesting thing this car still has is the dealer-installed pinstripes. Because this car was garaged most of its life, they still here. Moving on to the inside of the Cadillac Eldorado, as you can see, the brown theme definitely continues in here, as well as the faux wood that you get virtually everywhere. Seats in this car are very, very plush. Moving on to the dash in front of me, I have a couple gauges. In front of me is my speedometer and the needle that tells me what gear I'm in, as well as my turn signal indicators, and above me is where all my warning lights are. Moving on to the rest of the dashboard, you actually get a lot of controls. On the left of the gauge cluster is my control for the headlights, as well as the climate control, which is kind of odd. This is very driver focused. What passengers, Cadillac said. The driver gets control of everything. I also get the cruise control switch right next to it, which is kind of odd. It seems like it's kind of hard to see there. And then above that, I have my windshield wiper controls and a vent. And then off to the right, I have my shifter and my defroster controls and the power antenna controls, which of course still works. This is like my favorite part of the whole car, I don't know why. Then off to the right of that, I have my radio with factory CB. That's kind of odd. This is kind of a rare option on these cars. On the door, I have manual mirrors, my power locks, and of course, power windows. Weirdly enough, I also have a window lockout. And then we have our pull handle, our door handle to get in and out, and our little courtesy light. And then, of course, we have our door lock. On the passenger door, I have an ashtray, my power window switch, and then my power lock switch, as well as a door handle for the rear seats. This handle became especially useful when you wanted to get out. Instead of having the passenger up in front let you out, you could get out yourself with a button on the rear seat to fold it forward and using the handle to open the door. Moving back up front, we also have this handy removable litter bin. Alright, so we're in the back seat of the Cadillac Eldorado, and I must say, it is very spacious back here. You got plenty of room. Now, there aren't many features to speak of back here, but I do get grab handles, a dome light, and an ashtray. That's pretty nice to have. Alright, time to go in the trunk. Something I learned from shooting cars was square key for the ignition, circle key for the trunk. Now, an interesting thing that Cadillac did with these cars is crest flips up to reveal the keyhole. Stick that in there, and here we go. The trunk in this car is massive. Like, you could fit two of me in here. We got a different spare. This isn't the original spare for the car, but it was a full-sized spare, so that's kind of neat. And the paint is mint under here. And we have the jacking instructions, the spare tire stowage instructions, and the salesman's guide for the Cadillacs. This is very neat to have. Like, you got the fabrics, fabric samples. This is really neat stuff here. And then over here, you have another little booklet. I believe this is the brochure for 1978, the Cadillac lineup. The almost exact car in the picture here. And you have the Fleetwoods and the Seville Chevy Nova. We have the sections for all the different cars, including the Eldo. This is actually a really neat thing to have with the car. But that was the trunk space of a Cadillac Eldorado, in case you ever were wondering. Now looking at the outside of this car, and I honestly love the square shape of this Eldorado. It's very 70s, very, very large. Let's see how long it takes to walk by this thing. But there's plenty of car to go around here. I just love the overall look of this. The slanted rear tail lights. It's just a really neat look for the car. This car was the Cadillac that built before the downsizing, where Cadillac had diesel options. They had the Cimarron, they had the Seville, and then cars like this went away, most likely for good. So having one of these today is really cool because it's a piece of automotive history. It's what cars used to be. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please like the video, share the video, and subscribe for more. I'm Eliezer Parker. See you soon.